Okay, so hello everyone. This is a lecture of HPLC, basically high performance liquid chromatographic technique. So in this session, we the people have discussed what are the several aspects of HPLC, especially what is the instrumentation part, what is called the pumps, injectors, columns, solvents. So these things we have discussed in some of the previous sessions. Apart from this, we have also discussed what are called these several components for the basics of any chromatographic technique. For example, retention time, dead volume, or some other factors such as capacity factor, selectivity coefficient. So these all parameters we have discussed previously. So today we are going to discuss some of the important aspects of HPLC instrument, that is HPLC detectors. So what are called these detectors? Detectors are the instrumental part, key component, which are essential to detect the substance which is eluted from column chromatography. So depending upon the need of chromatographic technique, we can modify our detector. For example, if our compound is UV visible, it can be sensed under UV visible light, then we can use UV visible detector for this purpose. Some compounds are not UV, cannot be detected with the help of UV visible light. But in case if they are detected with the help of, let us say, refractive index, so we can use refractive index detector. In HPLC, refractive index detector is one of the major and prominent detector which is widely used. Okay, so that is the major detector. And additional detectors are also available. For example, we can have electron diode array detector, electron capture detector, ECD, DAD. They are also these types of detectors which are used in HPLC. Some of the detectors which were previously used, the flame ionization detectors, so they are also widely used in HPLC. So today we are going to discuss all these detectors, they work, what is their fundamental parts, so that they can detect the substance. That will be our major objective today. So we shall go to the first of all is multi some of the detectors. So let me go to this slide. UV visible detectors. There are subtypes of UV visible detectors. Fixed wavelength detector, variable wavelength detector, diode array detector. What is called fixed wavelength detector? Detector which is dependent upon, say, fixed wavelength, which is having a particularly fixed, meaning to say 254 nanometer, 264 nanometer, or 252. So fixed wavelength detector is in use these numbers. Another is variable wavelength. So we can tune the wavelength of our interest. So that is variable wavelength detector. Diode array detector, which involves the diode. There are more than one diodes in this detector. So that's why it is called diode array detector. But again, that is dependent upon this UV visible fluorescence detector, which can be used for the purpose of fluorescence. So that fluorescence detector, which we know that some of the substance which will illuminate specific wavelength and will absorb it, will retain it for certain period of time. It will go from the ground state to the excited state. When it will jump back from the excited state to the ground state, it will liberate some amount of energy. So that's why it is called as fluorescence detector. Electrical conductivity detector. which is dependent upon the conductance. So we can have anode and cathode, and we can put that into particular way in some detection device. So we can sense the mobility of anions, cations, provided our sample contains some mobilized, chargeable, conducting these devices or molecules. Another index that is basically conductance. So depending upon the conductance, we can sense the molecules. So that way it is electrical conductivity detector. Refractive index. Refractive index is basically a property of a substance when the light, radiation of the light, when it passes from the air to certain medium, we shall be able to observe certain changes in the angle of incident and as well as angle of refraction. That way, we can calculate the refractive index. Snell's principle, sin I equal to sin R. That way, we can calculate the refractive index. So this is basically refractive index detectors, which are popularly used in HPLC, termed as RI detectors. They are widely used in this technique. Electrochemical detectors, potentiometry, conductometry. So they belongs to this kind of electrochemical methods. We can have some anode or cathode, calomel electrode or mercury vapor lamp. Maybe they are also kind of detectors which are used in HPLC. Light scattering, kind of you might have seen a particular light which is passing through the prism and then it divides into VIBG, so that is a kind of scattering. It passes through certain slit and it can sense the molecules. So light scattering diode, light scattering detectors are also used for this purpose. So these are the several types of the detectors which are widely used. So what is our basic agenda, the goal for today? We want to learn all of this UV visible detectors. So basically, IT is equal to I0 into e raised to minus KLC. And this is nothing but Lambert-Beer's law. Simple, if I avoid this juggler dictionary meaning, so it simply means absorption is directly proportional to concentration. Higher is absorption, higher is concentration. Okay, so that is the Limbaugh Beer's law. Sometimes it is also called as Beer's. Okay, and that is inversely proportional to the length of the cell, and directly proportional to the its concentration. Right? So this is UV visible detector and some of the factors which are used. Fixed wavelength detector. There are certain lamps, this mercury lamp, which is having fixed wavelength about 235 to 253.7 nanometer. That is having this type of wavelength. Zinc vapor lamp. As you can see, it is having, let us say, this 213 this nanometer wavelength. So that is also a kind of wavelength which can be used. Cadmium vapor, depending upon the cadmium lamp. So cadmium vapor lamp is also present in the physically emission. Okay. So this is how some structural diagram of this detector. Our objective is what? Majorly detector will detect, will sense the molecules which are come out from this, let us say, this we call them molecules or diluent molecules which have been diluted from column chromatography. So then we can sense these molecules, we can detect these molecules. Fixed wavelength detector is for this purpose. You can see it is coming from the sample cell. Here there is a particular lens. Photocells are present, and so they shall try to sense things that will be forwarded to the lens. This is a fixed wavelength, means here the wavelength is only fixed whether it is 253.7, about we can call it 254. Mercury vapor lamp is used for this purpose. In some other wavelength detectors are also. I think there is some spelling mistake, otherwise this will be not 250, 2123, but maybe 212. Right. This mercury vapor lamp, so that is consisted of mercury, which will generate vapors. So that is the most popularly used because it is having and somehow kind of emission wavelength that is allowing the detection to sense the wide range of types. Fixed wavelength detector, which is the least expensive and highest intensity. You can see the sensitivity value is given 5 into radiation, maybe 1 nanogram per mm, 0.5 nanogram per mm. That is the activity of, that is the sensitivity of this devices. So that is the advantage of mercury vapor lamp. Then another detector is multi-wavelength detector. Here, multi-wavelength itself suggests it is not having fixed wavelength such as 212 to 54 or some other, but it is having multiple wavelengths together. What we use dispersion detector, which is having only one wavelength only, but diode array detectors, which is using range of multiple wavelengths. Diode array detector, which is DAD, means more than diode means two odds. Array means they are arranged in more than one sequence. So diodes are used for this purpose. So here, basically, this monochromator, which allows the some light to pass through this, and then it will select specific wavelength. So it will pass through the detecting cell, and then holographic grafting is basically used, so that will allow to light to fall on the diodes. Yes, so this is basically that diagram. Here we are having this lamp. We can call it as maybe deuterium lamp or xenon lamp. Deuterium is 1d2 and xenon is just like ideal gas, argon, neon, and xenon. So they can be used for this purpose where a certain wavelength will emit through the mirrors and we shall try to object them on certain rafters. So basically our purpose is to convert and to make these radiations which are coming through the lens and through the mirrors to the flow cell unit. Flow cell is basically a unit, and you can say a particularly vial or cuvette where we are keeping our sample. Again, that shall pass through the lens so that we can sense the radiations which are coming out from the flow cell unit. And photocell unit is also that, so that we can give directions to the coming radiations. So several kinds of the grafters, and these are the mirrors where they are used for the purpose in dispersive detectors. So grafting units and the these units you have heard, holographic grafting, that is basically used for the dispersion that will allow lights to fall on the area of several diodes. Multiple wavelength photodiode array detector. So photodiode array means it is utilizing all these compositions. You can see holographic grafting is that, but it is also having photodiode array. And they are commercially available. And this is one of the advanced techniques of IC, instrumental engineering, instrumental diode techniques. So it will pass through this somehow inlet where our flow cell is connected and the outlet shall be there. Inlet is basically the substances which are coming from HPLC column, and that will pass through this flow cell and it will go away. So whatever the molecules which are coming slowly by retention from column chromatograph or from the HPLC column, so it shall pass through this Here there are certain flow shutters and in-chromatic LED systems are used so that they can offer the detection of UV wavelength function of entire being. Look at the sensitivity of this instrument. It is having sensitivity up to zero point 0.1 microgram per ml. Zero point 0.1 microgram per ml we can detect using this multiple photodiode detector. Right? And this system is basically having a particular peak in this country, so it can be obtained equaling the memory of output of all the diodes simultaneously. That is multiple wavelength PDA detector. This is how the PDA is like this photodiode array. So when the light shall pass through the sample through a particular slit, it will fall on polychromator or a grafting device, and that light will convert into several this VIBG YOR, this we can call this visible light, and then we can sense them using the diode, which are arranging more than one diodes. So that's why they are termed as diode array detectors. And there are several other types of detectors are also there. ELSD is widely used for the purpose of universal detection of non-volatile compounds. Mostly, if we are using volatile compounds, then for volatile compound, gas chromatographic technique is available. We can detect these non-volatile compounds. So sensitive detection of weak chromophores have been used for this purpose. So lipids, phospholipids, triglycerides. So basically, you can see they are oily substances. Even sugars, such as carbohydrates, polymers, and pharmaceuticals are chromophore units, which are utilized for these purpose. Right, and there are many other advantages. This is basically diagram of ELST detector, electrical conductivity detector, that can detect the ionizable substances. Mainly, it is used for inorganic acid or bases and salts. And they will utilize something kind of this Wheatstone bridge, which might have referred the Wheatstone bridge devices, etc. in your, let us say, this physics. So is but essential for electrical conductivity detector is AC voltage. So at the home, whatever current we are having, that is DC. In industry, whatever the current is there, that is AC, alternate current, direct current, two types of currents. We need AC voltage for this kind of electrical conductivity. This is the diagram of that where certain electrodes, just I told you, diode, cathode, and anode, they are kept as a part of electrodes, which are supported with the help of amplifier. Amplifier basically जैसे आपका वो amplifier होता है ना जो आप म्यूजिक सुनने में यूज करते हो. So what does it do? छोटे से साउंड को लाउड साउंड कर देता है. Electrical conductance detector may be these amplifiers are used. Basically, they will convert a small scale detection device to a long or larger scale detection device. Right? So it shall pass through this inlet, and when there are certain PTF, polytetrafluoroethylene insulation are there, and so they are once it will pass through this amplifier through the camera, these things, it sense fluorescence detector. This is also used. Look at the sensitivity of this instrument, nanogram per ml. If your compound is having 1 ml contains 10 raised to minus 9 gram, 1 nanogram, and even we can sense up to 1 nanogram of the compound using fluorescence. Minute level of quantity using fluorescence. It is most sensitive. Nanogram is not, you can even if you go for weighing a nanogram, a weighing balance, it is hard to prefer, hard to measure this concentration. Okay, so fluorescence detector used for this purpose. वही एक simple principle है, inlet होता है, outlet होता है, बीच में lens होता है, it will pass through the cells and fluorescent cells, photocells are there, it sense the light. What is the minimum required condition? Compound should be fluorescent in nature. If your compound is non-fluorescent, you cannot use this. So that is the limitation. It is mainly required for fluorescent derivatives. You might have synthesized so many fluorescent dyes, azo dyes or whatever. They all are kind of light greenish color. These are the fluorescent substances. This is a choice of detector in HPLC. Refractive index. Again, what we are doing, we are using light to sense the molecules. So maybe it is one of the detector which is least sensitive, but very much sensitive to temperature, pressure, and flow rates that do not absorb the UV and do not sometimes compounds which are UV inactive, fluorescent inactive. So what there is highly used. Right? So this is a schematic diagram which is there on your screen where you can find out some light source is there which is passing through the slits, passing through the lines through our sample or flow inlet or flow outlet. And then it will through the mirror and again shall be detected with the help of sensor and amplifier. So that will show the recorder. Right? So this is basically refractive index. Okay, the location of the beam and rather than intensity is more important on this kind of refractive index. Is also used for the polymer chemistry. If your formulation that contains polymer, it is used. But although it is not sensitive as some of the previous detectors, fluorescent detectors, where we found the sensitivity up to 1 nanogram per ml. Here, the sensitivity is less, only microgram per ml. Microgram per ml sensitivity is too less. When we cannot sense the molecules using this. But yes, it is there using reflective index detector. I have performed some of the isolations and purification of some of the compounds. For them, these detectors are highly used. Okay. So we can we can use these detectors. So these are all the types of the detectors which we can use. Carbohydrates do not absorb, do not ionize, and they do not, they are fluorescent insensitive. So, typical sugar analysis, where the people are synthesizing glycans, sugars, disaccharides, monosaccharides, bisaccharides, or polysaccharides for this purpose. Refractive index detector is sample preparation. So sample preparation of HPLC is much easy. I have shown one of the video to you people in the previous classes where you have seen that we have to prepare a small vial. We have to dissolve the sample into that HPLC grade solvents. Solvents which are used in HPLC, they are not the common solvents which are used in, let us say, for your synthesis, for your analytical reagent. There are different grades of analytical reagents are available. AR, analytical reagent, which is specifically used in analysis. Sometimes LR, laboratory reagents that is available, which is specifically used in medicinal chemistry, organic chemistry to synthesize the compounds. Then there are grades, HPLC grade solvents, which are highly utilized in HPLC. ये HPLC में जो solvent होता है ना, वो normal solvent से completely different होता है. We have to take that solvent, have to dissolve so that our sample is homogeneous and free from interfering particles. Because these particles can block a small column of HPLC. The moment they will block the column, pressure will increase. system will be at risk because HPLC is not only high performance, but it is also mediated through the pumps. And pumps are known for the pressure. Something is blocked, then it will create the pressure. And then we can have, let us say, this blast. Although safety devices are there in the instrument, कि जैसे आपके घर पे तो फ्यूज होता है ना, तो फ्यूज का एक फंक्शन होता है, जैसे लाइट की सेंसिटिविटी, इलेक्ट्रिकल सेंसिटिविटी कुछ लिमिट से अबव जाती है, and in that case we can, वो फ्यूज का जो तार है जो उसमें कॉपर प्रेजेंट होता है वो पिघल जाएगा and we will not be able to use that. So this is basically safety device, the fuse, the MCBs जो अपने घर पे होती है. So similarly HPLC में भी they are the safety devices which are available. So we have to concentrate or dilute them. If our concentration is much less, then in that case we can concentrate it. Concentration of our sample is much lesser in the unit, then we can concentrate it. Or else we have to dilute it. For the purpose of dilution, this is highly useful. So this is the way a substance can be either concentrated or diluted, right? And derivatization sometimes is also done. Derivatization क्यों होता है? Because compounds sometimes they are UV inactive, fluorescent inactive. So we shall do some reactions to convert them, make their derivatives, and these derivatives can be sensed with the help of detectors. And ultimately we can perform our qualitative analysis or quantitative analysis. HPLC दोनों तरीके के होते हैं, qualitative as well as quantitative. Some of them are semi-quantitative, are also there. Qualitative, you can detect how many number of compounds are present. We cannot detect what is the concentration of constituents. For example, if you have isolated some natural product, let us say some extracts from piper nigrum, you have isolated ingredients. There are different chemical constituents available in piper nigrum. We want to sense the chemical composition of these molecules, how many chemicals are present in your extract. Definitely you can perform qualitative HPLC. If you want to isolate, if you want to know that what is the concentration of these chemical constituents in the extract of specific plant, then you will need quantitative analysis. So pharmacopoeia भी आप जब refer करते हो तब उसमें लिखा हुआ है क्या, this specific drug should not have more than this percentage of this. So some of the drugs in pharmacopoeial methods, they have also mentioned that they should be said using HPLC methods. So quantitative, qualitative is one of the way. Other is called quantitative, where we can directly quantify the compound. This is a chemical constitution. Or is semi-quantitative. Our objective is not only to know the number of chemical constituents present in a reaction mixture in your extract. Objective may be to also know that how many types of molecules are there, but not only that, you also wish to separate them. Separate, although quantity will be less, but we will have to, at the end of experiment, we will have to take up the column and we'll have to now we have to extract the silica, and from after extraction of silica we can do the compound. So HPLC में तो उतना होता हो भी सकता है, but this is more widely used in HPPLC, high performance thin layer chromatography, semi-preparative, semi-quantitative, semi-qualitative method is used. Okay, so for that purpose it is used. Sample, it can be in HPLC. Sample can be majorly, if it is solid in nature, then we can convert the solids, we can dissolve them, then we can perform the sonication followed by filtration using micron size filter papers to prepare the sample. So that is number one. Liquid, simply take some amount of liquid and dissolve it into the given solvent of HPLC grade. So we can go ahead by doing this way. Okay. Then we can use some other gaseous methods also, although I have never seen that gaseous samples are there. But as it is highlighted on this slide, gas samples are generally utilized by gas chromatography. And it is also only applicable to volatile compounds. जो compound खुद ही non volatile है, they will not be utilized. But GCH, PLC, a kind of hyphenated hybrid techniques can be used. So these are the methods. Whether we are having gaseous solvents, samples, then we can go for solid trapping, liquids. Then these are the methods, and suspension. So we can create the suspension with the help of centrifugation, filtration, or cementation. These are the methods for the preparation of the solids. We will not go into the depth of this, but we shall stop with this. The majority of the basic concepts of HPLC we have covered. Okay. So let us stop up to this. Now, some important thing which I would like to discuss with you people regarding research and development in HPLC. क्योंकि may be possible in next semester, semester 3 and 4. Especially maybe pharmaceutics people, they shall be making some formulations, and after making formulations you want to validate the formulation, kitna percent release hua hai, kitna percent bioavailability hai. In all that case, if you want to sense or essence these molecules, then we may require some methods. For this purpose, HPLC is used. Research or development majorly R&D field is there. So in general, R&D, research and development, that is constituted of three components. So what are these three components? Number one is your science. How much you are intellectual. Although it is not applicable to HPLC, but it is applicable to each and every kind of R&Ds. Science. So, and second one is art. So what is the science? Science means your understanding, the capacity of learning, your intelligent quotient, your capacity of remembering, your so that all things. से कोई होता है ना स्वामी विवेकानंद की तरह होता है, एक बार पढ़ लेता है तो तुरंत याद रख लेता है. That is science. कोई ऐसा होता है जो करके देखता है तब वो उसे अच्छे से याद है. कोई होता है जो थोड़ा लिखता है, फिर उसको लेबोरेटरी में जाके एक बार प्रैक्टिकल परफॉर्म करता है, एग्जीक्यूट करता है द वर्क, तो उसे अच्छे से याद रहता है. That is all the things people can learn either by reading, seeing, observing, or by doing. Okay, so we are not going to discuss all these things, but yes, they can be possible with this. Okay, so now, so that is basically science. And science can always be developed by reading, by continuous way of doing the studies. That is science. Second thing is called as the art. जैसे मैं आपको ऑनलाइन कितने भी लेक्चर दे दूं HPLC पे, पर जब तक आप खुद से HPLC नहीं करोगे तब तक आपको कुछ समझ में नहीं आएगा. चाहे कितने भी वीडियोस दिखा दो, कितने भी ऑनलाइन लेक्चर्स कर लो, कितने भी ऑनलाइन क्विज ले लो, जब तक आप खुद से HPLC नहीं करोगे, आपका प्रोजेक्ट नहीं करोगे, तब तक आप HPLC नहीं सीखोगे. That is the art. You couldn't learn that unless and until you do it. HPLC करता है ना, तब people have different skills. जैसे आपने ये देखा होगा कि some people are synthesizing some compound, their practical hand is so much good that they have skills. So this art, which is generally comes from your heart. Art basically comes from your heart. Most of the time it is taught. आपका टीचर होता है वो आपको टीच करेगा, आपका सब सुपरवाइजर होता है आपको इंस्ट्रक्ट करेगा, गाइड करेगा, या फिर आप अपने किसी और फ्रेंड के पास जाके सीख सकते हो. So that is art. But ideally it is suggested that a true art is always you can learn and develop by doing only, by performing only. तो आपको गाड़ी चलाना सीखना है तो सबसे आपको गाड़ी पे बैठना पड़ेगा, आपको स्टीयरिंग कंट्रोल करना पड़ेगा, एक्सेलरेटर, ब्रेक और क्लच हैंडल करना पड़ेगा. कोई ऐसा बोलता है कि मैं बिना पानी में डुबकी लगाए ही तैरना सीखना चाहता हूँ, तो कभी वो तैर ही नहीं पाएगा, सीख ही नहीं पाएगा। दैट इज सेकंड कंपोनेंट ऑफ R&D, दैट इज आर्ट। जब तक आपको लैब में आना पड़ेगा, काम करना पड़ेगा, सीखना पड़ेगा। फेलियर्स भी मिल सकते हैं, सक्सेस भी मिल सकती है, बट हमारे केस में R&D में जनरली फेलियर्स, नंबर ऑफ फेलियर्स आर हायर देन नंबर ऑफ सक्सेसेस। 10 बार कुछ करते हैं तब जाके एक सक्सेस मिलती है। That way that is possible. You may remember the example of Thomas Alva Edison, who has performed more than 100 experiments but found more than thousands of experiments, found in the end one successful example for bulb electricity. So that is science. Second is component for research and development, that is art. And third component, that is the luck. And the proportion of the luck that varies from one person to other person. किसी पर्सन के पास, some of the people में है 90% ऑफ लक। और सिंपली होता है ना, जीपेट के एग्जाम में जाते हैं, टिक मार्क करते हैं, सही लग गया तो 3, नहीं लगा तो तुक्का, लगेगा तो +4 में, नहीं लगेगा तो -1। ये एक तरीके का लक फैक्टर, एंड इट में वेरी फ्रॉम वन पर्सन टू अदर पर्सन। बहुत आपने देखा होगा, कोई होगा बहुत मेहनत कर रहा होगा, बट उसका लक ही उसको साथ नहीं देता होगा, and he will not be able to click the success at particular time. So that component is very, proportion of luck may vary from 10%, 20% to 90%. Different people may have this proportion of the luck. But this third component which I am discussing, that is not in our control. That may be determined by our deeds, our uh, constant efforts or success, whatever. But this third factor, we can only, if we understand the first two factors, science, your understanding, your learning capacity, your behavior, that is the science. Second is called this art. ये दोनों आपके पास है तो majorly luck भी will be also with you. So these three parameters that can be with you, that may vary from proportion wise one to another. So this way we HPLC may majorly I have discussed, because majority of you, whether you are pharmaceutics, pharmacology, pharmacochemistry और pharmacognosy, आपको कहीं ना कहीं पे भी HPLC की जरूरत पड़ेगी। Why? Because medicinal chemistry है, compound synthesis की है, उसकी purity check करनी है before going to let us say some in vitro assay or in vivo assay, तो आपको purity is must, more than 95. You know, American Chemical Society (ACS) that insist the researchers to have the purity beyond 90%, beyond these purities, and that should be completely assayed with the help of HPLC. मेडिसिनल केमिस्ट्री में भी HPLC का यूज होगा। फार्मास्यूटिक्स आप मेथड डेवलपमेंट, आप फॉर्मुलेशन डेवलप करोगे, फिर भी उसमें जरूरत है QA पर्सन। यू विल बी डूइंग लेट अस से सम मेटाबॉलिक प्रोफाइलिंग, सम स्टेबिलिटी स्टडीज, HPLC is required, some degradation analytics, HPLC required, pharmacognosy persons, they will also require HPLC, because वो जो एब्स्ट्रैक्ट करते हैं उसका फाइनली उनको HPLC क्रोमेटोग्राम देना पड़ता है, whether it is pure or not, and also applicable to all the other non-pharmaceutical sciences as well, जहाँ जहाँ पे भी purity is a concern. ठीक है, so HPLC is everywhere, but remember these three factors: science, art, and luck. Some people are telling that luck is determined with the help, maybe determined by God, but although we don't believe majorly luck, कोई कोई होता है और believe करता है, but no, we should believe majorly in science, majorly in art. Then luck will automatically favor the person. So this is the way that I want to discuss with you, and we shall stop up to this. In coming class, we shall discuss